Hola, welcome to Slowpoke Travel. Camera Girl and I are in Puerto Vallarta. In sunny Mexico, it is Noviembre, and it is hot. Hot. You know, if there's some wind effects on the camera, it cannot be helped, because if I close the doors, then there is a chance that I will pass away. So we got to leave the doors open so that there's a breeze so that I do not expire. We're just going to be 1 week here in Puerto Vallarta, but we're going to be in Mexico for an extended period of time. So if you're interested in our experiences as novices, gringos in Mexico, then go ahead and subscribe and blah, blah, blah. But what I want to talk about are my first impressions. Today is our 5th day here, and these are the things that have surprised me the most, or the things, you know, if you ask me what my first impressions are, or my first thoughts are, you know, this is what I wrote down. And you know, this is my own personal experience, but one of the things that surprised me is how good I feel, because I thought I might feel not that great, because I'm not in great shape. I'm pale. I have been slightly inactive for a while, especially the past year, but I feel really good. You know, and part of it, I think, is because I'm back in a walkable environment. You know, we're not driving anywhere. We're in the older part of town, next to, not very far from the Zona Romantica. We're about 7 blocks from the beach, maybe. So we got to climb up the hill partly to get here. It's ocean, beach, wonderful city surrounded by mountains. But you know, once you leave the beach and start climbing up, you know, you hit the hills pretty quickly, especially in this older part of town. So, you know, we read on the Airbnb a number of places when we were researching where we were going to stay that, you know, you got to climb a little bit, and you do. Soon after you leave the water, it starts to climb. So a lot of places where you stay, you got to climb up a hill. But it's very good as long as you have figured out how to get drinkable water. If you're a few blocks off the beach and you're in an old part of town, be prepared to climb. It's like being on a Stairmaster for 10 minutes before we get up to where we're at right here, which is worth it. I mean, it's a super duper awesome view, but man, it looks like we just won the big game and somebody dunked a whole bucket of Gatorade on us by the time we get up here. I mean, we're just soaking wet. I got a handkerchief in my pocket, mopping my face, and I'm literally mopping my face. But I'm doing it, and I feel great. Another thing that surprised me is how hot it is for November. I mean, the place we're staying in doesn't have air conditioning. I mean, it has this fantastic balcony, these doors that open up, you know, and it just kind of creates this breezeway through to the front doors and windows. This nice tunnel effect, but it can only do so much. So if you're super sensitive to heat and you're here during the summer part of the year, or at the beginning of the high season, even in November, you know, if you don't like heat, get a place with air conditioning. You know, we looked at some different places. You know, some of them had air conditioning, some of them didn't. We chose this view over air conditioning. We could have got this view and air conditioning, but then I'm too cheap. One of the things you need to think about while you're here is insurance. You want to make sure you have insurance, because the sidewalks aren't even. There are cobblestone streets. If you ride the bus, there's a chance that your teeth will clack together so hard that they will break. So there is the chance for real physical harm just walking around town, because you're going to be going down some steps. And, you know, especially if you're coming from the United States, you might be used to all of the steps being the same dimension, you know, so that when you're walking down, you don't have to think about it, and then you can get to the bottom in one piece. Whereas here, the steps can be, you know, each step can have its own personality, and on the way down the steps, there is a slight chance that you might hurt yourself slightly or die. Also, stepping off a curb, you know, like if you're on a street and you want to step into the street or cross the street, and you step off the curb to cross the street, you don't have to think about it that much. In a lot of places, you just step off the curb and go and be aware of stepping off the curb. But here, you have to really be aware of stepping off the curb, because sometimes stepping off the curb here is stepping off a cliff, and you will die if you're not paying attention. Be careful stepping off the curb. You have to make sure that you have enough insurance.
Wait, stop.
I mean, my first impressions of Puerto Vallarta are, I really like it. I really, really like it. It's hot, but when it cools, and I don't like it as much when it's hot, but once it cools down a little bit, I really like it. And I think if I was here when it was cooler all the time, it's really nice. But just walking around, because of the cobblestones, because of the stairs, and also because of the heat, and also because of having to climb up the hill, and I mean, there are lots of reasons why you could die here. The church bells are one reason. That's another thing. Who doesn't like the sound of church bells? You know? And I used to like the sound of church bells. Oh, here's the thing. We have been here, like I said, this is our 5th day, and I have not used my credit card one time. I have not swiped my credit card anywhere. Every transaction that I have made has been in cash. A lot of the restaurants are cash only. I don't see anybody using a credit card. Just cash, cash, cash. Again, we are in the older part of town. We are in an area, you know, there aren't a lot of giant fancy high-rise hotels around here. It's a lot of very local feeling. I mean, there's a lot of tourists here, but there's also a lot of Mexicans here as well. And I don't know if they're Mexicans that live here or if they're Mexican tourists, you know, from different parts of the country. But I mean, this doesn't feel like the Hard Rock Cafe. I think there's a Hard Rock Cafe somewhere down the beach. I mean, I can see some big hotels in the different distance, and I think that maybe that's a little more touristy than here, which is very touristy, but it's old-timey touristy. So a lot of the places are small, family-run businesses. A lot of times, you know, you go into these places, it's cash only. Cash, cash, cash. When we were in Chile, you know, we went down there with cash, you know, thinking we wanted to be prepared in case, you know, we couldn't use our credit cards, but, you know, we didn't use the cash at all. Everything was credito, credito. You know, swiping your cards. Every time you went to eat, you know, the waitress or waiter would come up with a little thing to slide your card. Here, cash, cash, cash. So, have some cash. You don't need a lot of Spanish. I mean, our Spanish is bad. But I like to practice Spanish. I do it every day. You know, I'm trying to learn. We were in Chile last year, and nobody that we encountered really spoke English very well, or really stuck out if somebody did speak English. But we were able to get by because we were practicing Spanish and because of Google Translate and blah, blah, blah. But here, I really think Spanish, I mean, you want to know some basics. You want to be able to say hello and, you know, thank you and, you know, just basic, you know, polite, you know, a little, just enough to show that you're not an ugly American or an ugly person or not an attractive citizen of the world in general. But you don't need a lot. I mean, my Spanish is muy poquito. I can say a few things. You know, Buck es muy inteligente y guapo y gordo. I can ask for ayúdame, yo necesito agua por favor. You know, so I can, you know, if I'm in a spot where I'm potentially dying, I can, and again, as I was saying earlier, there's lots of things that can happen where you can naturally die. I don't know if there are any volcanoes near here. I like taking buses. I mean, the bus is rough here, like I said, you know, because of the cobblestone streets and because of, I mean, the bus is rough. definitely been a friendly, fun, inexpensive way to get around. I am surprised how good the food is, because I expected the food to be good. I mean, I've been researching, I've been watching videos, I've been reading blogs, I've been looking into coming to Mexico for a while, and everybody's saying how great the food is, how great the tacos are, how great blah blah blah, just the best blah blah blah. It's like a movie, you know, if your expectations are high, the movie's, you know, it's not, you're always going to be disappointed. So I was expecting the food to be good. I was expecting it. So I am surprised at how good it is. And it's, you know, we haven't had anything really fancy pants. It's just really flavorful. Super flavorful. I'm looking forward to eating lots of food while I'm here. I'm surprised how good it is. It's really good. Not really a lot of great specific information, but we'll have more coming. We're going to be making a lot of videos, I think, of our experience here in Mexico. We're very excited. I haven't wanted to turn on my computer because there's no air conditioning, and I don't want my computer to melt. And, you know, I just haven't wanted, it's just been too hot to be sitting and working, so we just kind of being, I understand siestas now. I understand what a siesta is.